Have you guys ever heard of this calculation before?
So we're going to go in and we're going to search for that specific item to see if it is actually desirable. We can tell that there's 329 of these listed. And we're going to scroll down to the sold comps. We're going to see how many are actually sold. 145 have been sold. There's 329 listed. That puts us at a 44% sell-through rate, which I think is great.
Wow, where to even begin for this episode? So I make these videos because you need the good and the bad. In order to be a proper educator, in order to provide proper guidance, you have to know what to do and what not to do. I can't just tell you everything that's good and happy in this world without warning you about everything that is wrong, incorrect, or bad, because that could also set you up for failure. You didn't warn me about this. Right, exactly. So the thing is that sometimes when we do some of these videos, it's going to come off very negative. But that's also because what the information is, it could be misinformation. It could be, something that needs to be corrected. And nobody likes to be corrected. That doesn't feel good. I get that. But if we are a true proponent of truth, then we have to rationalize our positions and talk about these things without worry about hurting people's feelings, because ultimately it's going to hurt your pockets more than it's going to hurt your feelings. So the thing that we're talking about today is the STR stuff. Okay. You've probably heard about it before, and people try to calculate using sell-through rate of a binary system of thumbs up, thumbs down of whether they should pick up an item or not when they go out thrifting. So when you come across the item and you think, hey, this might be pretty good, let me pull out my phone and then try to do an STR, sold comp, et cetera, in order to find out, should I pick this up or should I just leave it here? But in order to understand exactly what is happening here, because the problem with the reseller community is that there is a nasty echo chamber of confirmation bias that's going on. Somebody said something, somebody parroted something, somebody's echoing something, and then before you know it, the misinformation becomes gospel. Now, I want to be clear that what's happening in the reseller community is not necessarily disinformation. Disinformation would say ill intent. Somebody's intentionally doing this, okay? That's not what I'm saying. I think a lot of the people that I'm about to showcase today actually probably come from a good place, and many of them are probably fell victim to what this echo chamber of confirmation bias is. So one person says something, another person says the same thing, and then I thought you said it because he said it, because she said it, and then now it is gospel. That's the problem. So the STR method, okay, first, if you check on Google what it even means, it is a metric that measures the percentage of inventory sold within a specific time period compared to the amount of inventory received. So when you think about exactly what that definition means, it's basically like you need a given pool and then how much inventory is depleted from that pool over a given amount of time. That's what the sell-through rate is. So to make it even simpler to understand, it would be like, okay, if we had a lemonade stand and we had 100 glasses of lemonade, we sold 25 glasses, we have a STR of 25% because we've depleted 25%. Sell through rate, we sold those. So when you think about how do you calculate that logically in your mind, it is 25 of 100. So when these resellers come back and then do their reseller math to show you, hey, this is how you calculate STR, they are taking how many sold divided into how many that is listed today. Those two numbers are decoupled from each other. They're not related to each other. How many listings are available today? Because there could be a sudden influx of listing or a sudden, a removal of listings. You don't know that. That has nothing to do with the 90-day interval from the snapshot of history. So the numerator and the denominator that you are using are unrelated to each other, and therefore you're going to come up with strange numbers. So let me show you a little montage of exactly what is happening.
So technically how the math would break down is I would take 72, which was the number of sold results, divided by 46, the number of available results, and that's going to give us 156% sell-through rate. If it is about the same, that is a 100% sell-through rate within 90 days.
No, it's not. So here are a couple of other YouTubers who have made the exact same video teaching this specific method. This is only to showcase that the echo chamber is absolutely happening.
The last 90 days first, so 7,700, and we're going to divide that by how many active listings there are right now, which is 10,000. All right, equals. And to get the percentage, we're just going to move the decimal point twice to the right. So in this case, the sell-through rate of a Carhartt t-shirt is 77%.
You'll see that there's 202 sold. So if I take 202 divided by 256, I think that's around 80%.
That means there's 89 sold. That's an extremely fast sell-through rate. What's that? 89 divided by 23. It's a 386% sell-through rate.
Has 57 listed and 169 sold for a sell-through rate of 296%. If you factor in the green colorway that I sold, that goes down to 15 active listings and 58 sold for a sell-through rate of 386%.
And we say 374, because remember we start with the number of items that has sold, divided by 32 current active listings, that is 11.68. If we turn that into a percentage, that means that it has a 1,168% sell-through rate. This calculator has a sell-through rate of over 1,000%. That is crazy high.
That is crazy high. Now, John from Flippin' Ain't Easy, which is someone who I have also criticized in the past, is actually the hero in this whole story. I want you to hear his findings on the actual way to get the STR.
And I happen to have the UPC number. I plugged that in, and it gave me a much lower number than I thought I'd see. We're talking about a very high demand device, 41.46% sell-through rate, which means less than 1 out of every 2 listed gets sold on eBay and within the last 90 days. So it's not as high as we think. I mean, if you're going to sit here and tell me that, this Tupperware or whatever has a 300% sell-through rate when this iPhone 15 Pro Max 512 gig doesn't even have 50%, then it's fuzzy math. It's just bottom line, fuzzy math.
So full disclosure, I've actually been very critical of John from Flippin' Ain't Easy in the past, but kudos to him for this one, because I bet it took a lot of courage to make that particular video, because if you should go against the hive mind in any way, they come at you with torches and pitchforks. So if you actually watch the original video that Flippin' Ain't Easy put out, it actually even has a trigger warning in the beginning of the video, which is so absurd that where we have come together now as a society, that people are actually need trigger warnings on mathematical calculations. Now, coming back to our lemonade example of how many are sold versus how many are left, the proper calculation, again, is to look at how many that we started with versus how many that were sold. Therefore, 25 sold of 100 glasses of lemonade. Therefore, the STR is at 25%. But when you think about exactly how these resellers are calculating stuff, they would take the 75 that is left over and then divide it by the 25 cups that was sold. So if you divide those two numbers together, you're going to get an STR percentage of 33.3%, as opposed to the original 25%, which is the correct number. And that's why you guys are getting an inflated number. So what is the problem with the inflated number? Well, it changes and throws off your graduation. There's a lot of things out there that are suddenly now 300% all the way to 1,000%. Exactly what are these numbers supposed to mean? Versus that when you actually do a proper STR calculation, you get a much lower number that is within the threshold of 100%. Essentially, everything STR has to remain under 100% for the number to even logically make sense. Because what you're trying to say when you have a higher STR number than 100% is that you sold more than you actually have. So when you think about the aggregate calculation of what people are doing and saying this is the STR collectively of all these sellers on eBay at the same time, then you're trying to say that these sellers have sold more items than items in existence. That's crazy. So coming back to John's example of the iPhone 15, which I thought was an excellent example for this video, what does that 41% even mean? Because clearly there's no doubt in any of our hearts that iPhone is not a desirable item. That doesn't make any sense. Apple holds a third of the world's market share when it comes to cell phones. So there's no way that we're going to say that iPhones don't sell well. So what does that 41% even mean in this particular context? Diddly squat. That's the problem. So should you be using STR period in order for your thumbs up, thumbs down system? I would argue no in this context, because if an iPhone is at 41%, how is this helpful now? Does that mean good or does that mean bad? What is my graduation? What is the threshold now? At what number does that mean, good? And what number does that mean bad? Normally you would have argued to yourself greater than 50%, thumbs up, lower than 50%, thumbs down. But that's not necessarily true anymore. So if you were to ask eBay specifically, well, what do you use as a metric for deciding whether something is going to convert or not? And the answer lies exactly in that word convert. You want the conversion rate. So the proper way to think about whether or not an item is desirable, thumbs up, thumbs down in a binary way, has to depend on its conversion rate, because that's exactly what Cassini prioritizes. So here I have an answer where it tells you, when considering the Cassini platform in the context of digital marketing, it's accurate to say that Cassini heavily factors in listing performance metrics, including conversion rate, as a key driver for search ranking and visibility. This is very, very important to understand. So the whole time when people are trying to teach each other, how do you decide if an item is a good pickup or not? You're using an STR method. But when you ask eBay, how do you know if something is likely to sell or not? They use a conversion rating. So all that calculation with the wrong math, we're not even calculating the proper metric. The proper metric that you're really looking for is the conversion rate. Isn't that strange? And this is exactly what I mean. When I listen to the reseller advice, this is why my ears stand up immediately, because I hear this stuff and it's just odd to me. And this is my homework to show you guys exactly what I mean, what I'm talking about, and the whole science behind it. It's not enough for us to say, hey, I did things this way and it always worked for me, and then therefore, et cetera, et cetera. That's a real cop-out to not being able to explain the mechanics behind something. It would be no different than if I said, well, I flip a lucky coin every single time, and so far it hasn't failed me yet. Yeah, but that's only my anecdotal experience. And many times people have left comments in the comment area and said things like, well, worked for you, doesn't work for me. And ultimately, there is nobody out there who is sourcing stuff at 100% efficiency. So how do you explain that? So because I come from a completely different area of e-commerce, someplace much more advanced, I do my product research much differently than you guys. I take about 3 weeks to 3 months before I pull the trigger on a particular item. I personally like to get in on the next iteration of something that I already know is a hot item. So whether I'm trying to white label something or private label something, a best example of this is when, let's say, the Galaxy 2 and the Note 1 was doing very, very well. So to get on the cell phone cases at that time, I'm probably already too late. But for the next iterations of the Galaxy 3 and the Note 2, then I really want to get in as an early adopter of those items so that I could position myself in a good spot right from the get-go. And that's how I would see if something is a green light or a red light when I'm trying to choose something. Now, this show is not just about criticizing people and calling them out and cutting them down, and that's it, without leaving you proper information on what is the right thing to do. So I found this particular lady over here, and I really want you guys to hear what she has to say. Her channel is called Hustle and Slow. This is my first video that I've ever seen of her. This doesn't mean that I might not be critical of her in the future, but what she had to say here, I thought was absolutely great.
So first, we're going to go to our eBay app. And what you want to do is click on selling. And then you're going to scroll down to research. It'll say jump to research. We're going to click on that, and then you can start typing something. So I'm going to search Banana Republic merino wool sweater, pink, medium, because I want to be as specific as possible because it's going to depend on size. It's going to depend on color.
So what she has over here, you could see it's only at 14.29% sell-through rate. Now, only she can know for her own market whether or not that's a decent number or not, especially based on all the specifics that she puts into it. Now, there has been a lot of people who will criticize that sometimes this thing, you have to be very specific about it with the UPC code, et cetera, and it won't give you the broad searches that you needed and other things like that. But the problem is, right, is that when you come back and then you think about the calculations and all the back-end data that eBay actually has, the numbers do not come out as inflated as when a lot of the other resellers were teaching you that old reseller math that doesn't exactly come from a place of actual business literacy. That is the issue. So when you think about exactly how to calculate with this particular tool through a sell-through rate, you actually have to follow a trend. If the item is on a upward trend or a downward trend. Because just because you have a sell-through rate number, if you don't know if it's on a downward trend where everybody is jumping ship versus everybody is getting on board, you don't know if you're catching the end of a trend or you're getting it when the getting is good. So let me show you what happens when you're looking at the trend stuff. So here is the portion of the video where she is using the desktop version of the same tool rather than the mobile version. And on the desktop, now you have those graphs over here, and it's starting to show you the average sell price and all that stuff, as well as the history of what happened. Because currently, the way that you're calculating the STR stuff, you are using the 90-day sales history plus exactly how many listings are available at the moment. These two numbers actually have no correlation to each other, as opposed to what information that eBay has on the back end of exactly how many listings there were at the time of the whole 90 days so that they're able to plot out exactly what the trend is. Also, you can see if the average sale price is going up or going down and how many people are getting into this item versus how many people are jumping ship from this item. And this will give you the better green light, red light situation. All right, guys, time for a little bit of final thoughts. So ultimately, I hope you guys all understand that we have to make these types of videos if we're going to properly educate people. You have to have the yin and the yang, the salt and the pepper, the good and the bad, the day and the night, because you will be set up to fail if we just start talking about happy, inspirational things all the time. And we don't warn you exactly what the misinformation stuff is, what is the incorrect things, because in today's particular episode, we are calculating things not just in the wrong way, we're also calculating the wrong metric. So in order to properly do things, follow the eBay tool, and that is the better way to go, and you're not going to get strange inflated numbers. Once again, kudos to John for being one of the first people to be outspoken in the community and try to correct that mistake. I know it couldn't have been easy to just get on camera and call it fuzzy math. So that was the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big like. And if you learned something, please consider subscribing. As always, I'll see you guys in next. Take care.